Alright guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So I have here my review for the, I guess this is kind of like a 2-week update on the Alcatel PulseMix. Now this phone right here is a phone that's offered by Cricket at the moment for $79 at full cost, and if you decide to port your number in, you can get it for $29. That is an amazing cost. Believe it or not, that is the cost of this phone if you decide to grab it from Cricket on a port in, or you can just pay $79 for it, and you've got yourself a nice phone. So this review is not going to be a difficult one for me. I gave you like a week update, I think it was, but I decided to go and just give you another video because this phone right here is these are the phones that probably the average consumer is buying first. They're not interested in the OnePlus 5, the HTC U11, because they don't know what these phones are. They don't even know that they exist probably. But I'm not saying that to say that this is a horrible purchase. I'm saying that because this is where, believe it or not, the majority of consumers are right now. They want a low-cost phone that can kind of do what they want it to do. And right now, that's pretty much just social media. And so in this discussion review for this phone, there's a lot of pluses to this phone that the average consumer probably might not know is something that they're getting that's good. So first, let me point out the horrible parts of this phone, and that is the front camera. The front camera on this phone is not very good. And that's just what it is. It's not a good phone. The rear camera is pushing it. It's very doable, but for social media, this phone can be used. Now, the consumer probably might not be as happy if they stand next to somebody with a phone like this. They might say, "Whoa, I need to upgrade my phone." But that is what this phone is competing against. It's competing against phones like this. Now, this phone costs a little bit more, but let me go ahead and tell you, I would definitely recommend this phone over this phone on a bad day. On its worst day, I could recommend the Moto E4 over this Alcatel PulseMix on its worst last leg. It's just not even a question. The build quality on here, while it does have this metal back, again, when you're comparing it against a phone that doesn't have a metal back, that phone feels better in the hand. This doesn't feel like metal at times. It just feels like just a regular plastic phone, and it's just this metal shell around the back. But the camera on here the front is not good at all to me, and the rear is just barely getting by. So after that, pretty much you've got a good phone. The experience is good. The software does not lag at all. Even though it has a MediaTek processor in here, it doesn't lag because it has a 720p display, and it is something that is going to couple well with that MediaTek and the internals. Now, it has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs onboard storage, as does this phone. But this phone has a Snapdragon inside of it, and also the display on this phone is a lot better. And I'm comparing it to this is just the first phone I have by me, and I'm actually using this daily. And it's just a phone that I think this phone is competing with, and it's not doing very well. But for this package, it is a good phone for $29. It's a good phone for no more than $50 or so at full cost. But and that's just my personal opinion on that. But it only costs $79, so that's still a good purchase for the consumers. You do get a really good battery life on this thing, and you also get the mods, which I do have the battery and I have the speaker. Those are a plus, but customers are not going to want to buy that because those are $50 a piece. So customers are going to be turned off by that. So, just the phone itself is all I need to review. And this phone has a lot of high points that the consumers might not know about. It has USB Type-C on here. It's got a pretty decent speaker on the bottom. Again, the camera is decent on the back. The build quality is okay. The screen is okay. But the phone shines in battery life and getting the job done. The software is actually pretty smooth on here. There's not a lot of bloat, and it's just a good experience. Phone calls are pretty good on here. One thing I did find though is that my signal, the LTE signal, will disappear. However, I still have LTE. It's still working. And then also it'll connect to Wi-Fi on its own. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want you to do that. Don't connect to Wi-Fi, So, overall, man, I mean, I've taken this phone to the gym and use it as a regular. And, it's a good phone. Now, it doesn't have a fingerprint reader, which is kind of a downside because you got an affordable phone like this with Moto gestures. You've got the fingerprint reader. You've got a much better set of cameras. Believe me, it's a much better set of cameras. And again, this is what this phone is competing with. These are both exclusive phones to the carriers. This is Verizon. This is Cricket. You can see their logos back there. But the Alcatel PulseMix is a phone that I'm not going to do like some people and say, oh, a kid, I'll give it to a kid. That has nothing to do with anything. There's a phone for everyone. And there's a market for this phone. There are people out there that don't want a whole bunch of things that this phone offers. They don't want it. They just don't want it. They don't want to pay the price, and they don't need it. They're staying within their limits. So if you're going to do basic web browsing, social media, because that's where today's market is right now, this is a phone to buy. I could recommend it. It's only $29 to port in. It has an SD card slot. It's got long battery life. It's $79 full cost. There's not much to say about a phone like this. The mods is what interested me, and that's why I bought it, because I got the 2 mods. But after I got those mods out of the way, this is just a meh phone. It's nothing fancy about it. So, but to the average consumer, this is the bomb probably. So, it's your man Jay Will, kind of a discussion full video review for this phone right here. Can I recommend it? I sure can, because there's a phone for everybody. But would I recommend it over the Moto E line? Definitely not. This feels really premium compared to this phone. It's got some girth to it. It's got a fingerprint reader, much better cameras. I don't know what else to say. Maybe I'll compare these two just to show you in another video, but like do a camera comparison between the two. But it's your man Jay Will. Just a quick video update on the Alcatel PulseMix. I'd recommend it. I would, but it's definitely not a phone that I could use as a daily driver indefinitely for 2 years or something. Not even for 6 months probably. If I had to, I would, but since I don't, I won't. It's your man Jay Will. Stay tuned for more. Take care.